Well, hello, it's Donna here from Rotary Matters in Masterton on Arrow FM 92.7. I have some lovely ladies to join me today. I have Marilyn Bazade from Masterton South Rotary.
Hi, Donna.
And I have Heather Marsh from South Wairarapa.
Hi, Donna.
So welcome both of you lovely ladies, and Carterton we're hoping Mike will turn up, but if he doesn't we'll just speak for Carterton as well. So it seems Rotary's all about family. So I hope out there you're all comfortable with a cup of tea and sitting ready to hear exactly what's happening for Rotary in our region and also nationally and internationally, because it's Rotary is one of those things, and I guess you probably both agree that you don't really know what it's about until you become a member, and then you start realising how influence it has on the world. How did you get involved, Heather?
I was literally shoulder tapped by the then president, who said, "Would you like to join Rotary?" And I said, "I'd love to." And I said to my husband of the time, "I've been invited to join Rotary," and he said, "You can't." So a year later, when he was no longer my husband, I came along and was delighted to become a member of Rotary.
Right.
Haven't looked back. And I had no idea then how much Rotary does in New Zealand.
Yes, you don't when you first start, do you?
No, well, Paul Mason, who's going to be our president next year, put a quiz in the Featherston Phoenix. Who started the Crippled Children's Society in New Zealand? Who built the first Karatani Hospital? Who organised the first mobile TB clinic? Who started milk in schools? Who began the first health camps? Who brought defensive driving to New Zealand? And I don't understand this. Who built the first women's public toilet facility in New Zealand? Someone obviously saw the need. Who began the National Kidney Foundation? Maybe it was somebody with a kidney problem. Who began the Asthma Society? Who began the National Children's Health Research Foundation? And if you answered Rotary to each of these questions, you'd be right. But there is more. In 1945, which is rather before my time, I'm afraid, the Rotary Club of Auckland established the Obstetrical and Gynecological Committee. Now, can you imagine a Rotary Club getting involved in gynecology in these days? And then, in 1961, the same club, with the Governor-General, who was Viscount Cobham in those days, and several others, formed the Outward Bound Trust. All these things we know about, and unless you look at the signage for these different events and you happen to notice that little Rotary wheel in the corner, you'd never know what we've been up to. So on the national front, there's a terrific amount going on. Adventure playgrounds, fitness trails, walkways. You'll find cops driving vehicles, especially community vehicles with the little rotary wheel on them. And you'll often see things like that on the fire engines. Oh. I think there might have been one on my ambulance once when I used to drive them. The Ellerslie Flower Show. And internationally, my favourite project is the Polio Plus program. Now, Rotary spearheaded this initiative with a pilot project in the Philippines in 1979, and it's gone on for years and years and years with World Health, UNICEF, and the United States Centers for Disease Control. And in a recent statement, it was said, since 1988, we've seen a worldwide reduction in polio cases of 99.9%. Last year, they mean 2017, there was only wild polio cases in 3 countries. So it is nearly beaten. Isn't that a wonderful thing to look forward to?
It is wonderful. It is amazing.
Such an awful disease. Yeah, that's really impressive. Gosh, what an impressive list.
I know. It is amazing when you sort of start to think about all the different things that Rotary has started. And I mean, it's only been going on since the beginning of the 1900s, hasn't it? Yeah, when it was first established.
So I didn't know about the milk in schools.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes, I had read that.
Done a lot of research. There's a lot of things I didn't know. I always thought the sort of things that the government did because it was the sort of things the government should do, but evidently necessary, but not the government. Rotary.
No, and it's the same now. The wonderful agencies that fill the gaps and those sorts of things, and yeah. Gosh, one of the reasons I joined Rotary was my mum had polio, and so polio to me was obvious or a tangible thing. I think for youth nowadays, they've not seen, and Mum used to talk about the stories, awful stories of the iron lungs and things, and so for me it was a very real thing.
Did she have one? Because they had one of those at the Rotary conference that I went to last year.
No.
They were incredible. Awful things.
Awful, yeah. No, Mum didn't. She was only 3 when she got and she spent a year in hospital, but as a 3-year-old she remembers the iron lungs there and sort of the trauma that it created. Yeah. Did you go and see the movie, and I've forgotten the name of it now? It was last year. It was a Rotary one, and it was about a young man who got polio and wouldn't give up, and it was just the most beautiful story.
It wasn't The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, was it? It was
no. I remember the title if you said it, but I can't remember. I should have thought of it, but it was just beautiful. It was, polio in 3%. No, we've only got 1% left, haven't we? And that's
right.
war-torn countries and political.
It's in Syria, isn't it, at the moment?
Political and sort of geographical problems. 1% doesn't sound much, but if that 1% takes hold, we're having to work again.
Well, I'm old enough to have been immunised twice at school.
Right.
First with the Sabine vaccine and then with the Salk vaccine, or maybe the other way around.
Yeah. Right.
And one of the most popular books when I was in about the 3rd form was a book by a New Zealand girl called June Opie called Over My Dead Body.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
She caught polio when she had just arrived in London for her OE, and she spent the best part of a year in an iron lung before she recovered.
So she recovered.
She did recover.
You don't hear very often of people that survived those iron lungs, really, do you?
No, she did, but I notice a couple of my friends who are probably only about 10 years older than I am, which makes them in their 80s, are now coming back with what they call the secondary thing, and the pain that they had or the difficulties they had in movement when they were children are now beginning to come back and affect them.
Yes, Mum, she was starting to get symptoms of the secondary, I don't know whether it's a syndrome or I'm not sure, but I remember Mum talking about that. So polio is one of the biggest international ones,
it is.
And certainly from that list, what an amazing input we have nationally and internationally through Rotary, but through our local clubs, which we're all different clubs, we also have some pretty impressive stuff, and Rotary really does do in our communities amazing stuff in a very humble and quiet way, I have to say, and exactly what you were saying here. They're often if you're not looking for that wheel, the Rotary wheel, and if you haven't seen it out there before, Google it and have a look and you'll recognise it straight away. You often don't know what the projects are about. And so, Marilyn, what brought you to Rotary? What was...
Well, I first started in Rotaract when I was younger, and then you had to sort of leave when you turned a certain age. There was the Rotaract club in Masterton.
So for listeners, maybe explain.
Rotaract is for youth up to the age of 30. It was then. I don't know whether it's still that age limit now, but there are still Rotaract clubs now. And so I joined then. My dad was in Rotary all his life, and I sort of grew up with knowing Dad was in the Rotary Club, and he was president, and he was in the Masterton Club, in your club, and when I retired, I suddenly I had this sort of, I call it an epiphany. I was at a funeral of one of our Rotary one of our Harlequin theatre members who actually was in Rotary, and Christine Brewster was giving a eulogy, and I'm sitting in the church, and I thought, oh, perhaps I should join Rotary. And so I went to Christine and I said I was thinking about it, and I said probably I should join Masterton because my dad was in it. And she said, oh, they have a morning meeting, breakfast meeting. We have ours in the evening as a dinner. And I said, I think I'll join yours. I'm not really a morning person. So so I was really thrilled, and I joined up then. And I've just found it amazing. It's been really wonderful. I think after you've been teaching and you're sort of you have a lot of people on the staff, and you're involved with a lot of people, and suddenly you retire, and you haven't got that sort of network of different people, and that's what I found wonderful about Rotary. And then I've become involved in all the different things that are happening in the community, and of course I'm also in the Rotary Singers, so that's another thing.
Singing.
Yeah, so that's great.
We'll hear a bit more about each of our individual clubs through the show, but it's just interesting to know how you joined. How long have you been a member now, Heather, did you say?
I'm thinking it's about 2005.
Okay, and Marilyn?
Mine was 2012, I think it was, or 13. Yes, in 2012, about 6 years.
Yeah, I think mine was about 2008. Yeah, so we've all been for a little while.
Yes,
but there's certainly been some, particularly in our club. Do you have some sort of senior?
Oh yes, we have some who've been in there for a long time, and in fact we had. We've got a couple who started the Marston Rotary Club from Marston Club. I think Ted Paris and a couple of others. Yes.
So it's a club that you tend to stay in for a long, long time. It's not an in and out thing, is it?
No,
you do get hooked, I think.
I think you do,
And I think because there's so many varieties of what you can do and what you can be involved in. But I love it for the networking as well. I think.
I think it's interesting too, because in my dad's time, you had to belong. You could only have one category of a job or a profession
one lawyer,
or something.
One doctor,
that's right. And so now that's totally changed, because I think it had to move with the times, and I think that's good too.
Yes.
Well, in the South Wairarapa, I know there's a display of the old badges when that was the case. And, of course, more than half of our guys seem to be farmers. So there seemed to be so many ways you could describe someone with cows. There were dairy farmers, there were beef farmers, there was a dairy beef farmer. We hadn't got down to individual breeds of cattle yet, but I'm quite sure that would have come next. And when I joined, they said, for heaven's sake, don't put yourself down as a farmer. And I said, well, actually, no, although I did have a very nice flock of dairy goats. I don't think I want to put myself down as a writer, I suppose, which is one of the things I do.
Right.
So, but it's not like that now. You can have as many real estate agents or plumbers as you might like.
Yes, I think they've had to modernise a bit and recognise that it could be a little limiting. But it does, and I think, certainly when we've been looking for membership or considering canvassing for membership, you do want to look at different areas as well, don't you? Because I think the club benefits from that, having that variety and diversity as well.
That's right. And also now, of course, we have women in the club, of course, but that in my dad's day there were no women. And I think even in a number of clubs overseas, there are no women. I know that in a lot of the English clubs.
And Honolulu. Don't have women.
Yes, there was a bit of furore down in Christchurch, wasn't there? When
yes.
Now what was it? Somebody wanted to join and they were a woman and they were declined. But there's several different stories. But so it still has a little bit of that sort of
imbalance.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
At least one of our members, in fact, I think only one now, is one of the initial founding members of the South Wairarapa Club, so I think he must be about to turn 90 if he hasn't already. And he is the only one of the founder members left.
Wow.
But of course, he and many of the other senior members of the club remember when women were first admitted. And there was some people were rather keen on it and some people were very not keen.
Yes.
And at least one person that I know of, who is a perfectly nice man, left because he didn't want women in the club, which is a bit sad.
It is a bit sad. I suppose some of that is sort of, and I'm generalising, I know, but that's probably more, their generation. That's how things were. True. It was a lot more clear. There wasn't like now. Everything's a lot more merged and sort of connected, isn't it? It was Neil Inkster, I believe, who was in our club. And passed away this last year, was the international president, and he was the chap that brought in that you could have women in clubs. He was passionate about it.
And you mean Rotary worldwide?
Yes, he was.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Neil Inkster, yes, he passed away last year, and he was a member of our club. But he did do a term as
international governor,
president. and it was in his year that he brought in that woman could join.
Yes.
So good on Masterton.
Yes, good on Masterton, indeed.
Yes, look, we might have a little song and a wee break, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about Rotary and what we do. So I asked you lovely ladies to bring some music today, and Marilyn, you have brought, she says it's adorable, a little bit of buble. I do love to have a red wine in a bath and have a buble bath. So you've chosen track number 15. Tell me why you...
18 or...
18?
Yes.
Track number 18. Tell me why you chose that.
Well, it's Silver Bells, and
Yes.
it's just nice, and it's
lovely.
just, it's sort of... Just,
and he's got the voice that we can melt to. So
yes,
enjoy.
I was watching him just recently on Graham Norton, and he's just put out a new album, but I haven't got it yet. So
yes, he's kind of the old what was his name, Frank, the crooner.
Oh, Frank Sinatra.
Sinatra. He's kind of the modern day Sinatra, isn't he?
Of course, there was a big thing went around the fact that he wasn't going to sing anymore and all this sort of thing, because he had his son had cancer, and
That's right, was very sick.
Yes, he was very sick, and so he sort of took quite a bit of time out. It was just lovely the way he was talking about his family.
Yeah. So we're not on commission to sell this CD.
No,
Sounds like
no.
we've advertised it, but I think it's just because we really like him anyway. So we'll play this. Is that playing? Not sure if it is.
Frosty
I think
the
that's
snowman
Community
was
radio.
a
There we
jolly,
go.
happy soul with a corncob pipe and a button nose and 2 eyes made out of coal. Frosty the snowman is a fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how it came to life one day. There must have been some magic in that old top hat they found, for when they placed it on his head, he began to dance around. Oh, Frosty the snowman was alive as he could be, and the children say he could laugh and play just the same as you and me.
Frosty the snowman was a jolly happy soul with a corncob pipe and a button nose and 2 eyes made out of coal. Frosty the snowman, a fairy tale they say, was made of snow, but he came to life one day.
There must have been some magic in that old top hat they found,
Magic in that.
for when they placed it on his head, he began to dance around. Frosty the snowman, the sun was hot that day, so he said, let's run and we'll have some fun now before I melt away.
Frosty the snowman had to hurry on his way.
But he waved goodbye saying, don't you cry, I'll be back again someday.
Yeah. How was that?
well,
It's not plugged in. How was that? Oh my goodness, I am mucking things up today. Just as well it's live. Having a bit of fun here. I've just realised I haven't got my headphones on, so Veronica's probably out there going,
You're excused. You're excused.
never mind. It's called Being Human, isn't it, in community radio. So welcome back, everyone out there. This is Rotary Matters, and we're on Arrow FM 92.7, and today we have Heather and Marilyn and Donna, and we're talking about Rotary in our community. Our community is incredibly busy. All of our clubs have some absolutely amazing events and projects and passions that they move towards. So we're going to take a little turn each and talk a little bit about each of our clubs. So Marilyn, would you like to start just telling us maybe, where you meet, the time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so we meet every Tuesday at around about 5:30, and we have a meal, a dinner at 6 p.m. And generally we have a speaker for the evening, and we have we've got different committees. So we have a club services which organise a lot of the administration and the business of the club. We have community, which is involved with a lot of the community projects. We've got youth and vocational, which is the educational and all the different things that are involved there. And then we've got international. And once a month we have what we call firesides. And firesides is when we go to each of our different communities, and usually it's held in the home of one of the members, and we go and have our committee meetings after our dinner. And then once a fortnight we usually have a choir practice afterwards, because we've got to have our Rotary singers.
Right.
And so Doug Davidson and Pam Fowler come in, and they are our director and pianist. So that's just something that we do.
You go out and perform? Or?
Yes, in fact, we've performed a couple of times this year, and we did one down at the community church in Cole Street, and then New World for their sale, their big sale. So we were all dressed up in our Christmas gear, and we sang Christmas carols. But we do have a lot of ongoing things that happen during the year that are sort of roll over all year, because we have the mini putt, which we're responsible for down at the Queen Elizabeth Park, and there's also a bike hire there. So that's always, a big feature for tourists and people particularly during the summertime. We have every Sunday we have a car boot sale, which is in the Essex Street car park, and we have two of our members are sort of in charge of that, so we just sort of rotate during the year, so you get about once or twice a year that you do that. And then we've got the food bank, which is our big project, which is run by our community committee, and everyone gets involved in that. And I think all the other Carterton and South Wairarapa also get involved in food bank in their areas. We also have dictionaries for schools, and each year at all the different schools in the district, in the Masterton area and country schools near here, are given dictionaries. The kids in year 4 are taking
beautiful dictionaries too.
Oh, they're lovely. I know.
Stunning.
I know. They're really, really, really lovely. We have books for babies. So every baby that is born during the year is given a book through Plunkett. We organise the inter-school speaking contest, which is the intermediate age students. And then we are also now responsible, or we have been since its inception really, is the Millennium Reserve. And because the international president in the 2017-18 said that every Rotarian had to plant a tree, well, we've been planting trees.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, so that's an ongoing thing that the club is responsible for. And also we've done quite a bit of work over in the Queen Elizabeth Park Island, planting new things there, because the kids' own playground was started too with Marston South years ago.
You've got a big project going on just down the road from there as well.
I know, and it's all terribly exciting. Well, as we speak, the cycle track is almost ready, and the men have been down there digging holes and putting in the concrete in the posts. So the only thing left to do at this moment is the painting of the lines, and of course because of all the rain that's sort of been put off a bit, but it's hoped that it'll be open for the public and the kids before Christmas.
I will tell my grandson, he's chomping at
Yeah, it might be officially open probably till the beginning, in the new year. But it's really exciting. So this is a cycle track which is for children, up to about 5, I think it is, and it's down by the bridge just past the skateboard park. Yes,
sort of yes, on the left-hand side of the skating rink.
Yes.
Skating rink. Oh,
that's
gosh,
right.
that's showing
That's showing you
my
age. Yeah. So that's something that we're really excited about, that we'd be able to put the money into doing that. And of course, our other big project for 2017-18 was the mobile clinic for Rarotonga.
Tonga bus.
And that was a huge undertaking that the International Committee and Rob Irwin and David Baker and Paul Snellgrove were involved basically in raising about $170 odd, and also a lot of the Rotary clubs in throughout the district.
Might have been 170,000, was it?
Yeah, did I say 175? Oh, goodness. 175,000, and that had to be done through International Rotary, and there was a lot of toing and froing with the application forms for the grant for that.
A busy club.
Oh, yes.
A very active club, and I love the idea of having the choir as well. I think that's...
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Yes,
and
right.
that's quite interesting, because I don't think I've ever been in a group of singers where you've got 2/3 of men and only so it's
usually
really,
women, is it?
It's usually the woman and the other. Yes, so that's good. And of course we always, and I'm sure Masterton and South Wairarapa are also involved in Rider.
Yes.
The driver, and the exchanges with the different overseas exchange for the students.
So Rider is Rotary's
driving
youth driving awareness program, which is an annual program for college age, isn't it?
And for year 12. Year 12.
Fabulous.
And that's coming up again in March each year.
Rotary likes having things like Rider, Raipen.
That's right. Ryla. And we've got exchange students coming from, we've had them from Switzerland and Italy, and one of our students has gone over to Italy, or had been over in Italy too. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's if you've got young youth that have leadership skills, or you can see they have a passion for it, or a heading that way, if trying to get them involved within a club somehow so that they get known. There's so many youth things that they can get involved with. Raipen is Rotary Youth Enrichment Program, and then Ryla is Rotary Youth Leadership Program, and they're just amazing. So if you do have youth out there that you think would benefit from something like that, by all means just talk to us, a Rotarian, and at the end of the show you don't have to run around looking for biros now, but I'll say our contact numbers and how we can be contacted, so that you can do that. So Rotary Masterton South, always go.
Yeah, so it's the Rotary. We've got to be very. It actually is officially the Rotary Club of Masterton South.
Rotary Club is a mouthful. So that's very impressive work, and so well done to your club, and it's lovely working with you. You're considerably a big club too, aren't you?
Yes, we've got over 60 in the membership, and we've got we've had new members come in too, which is great. Yeah.
And you're Tuesday nights.
Tuesday night, yes.
At 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, and it's usually over by 7:30. Yeah. With the speaker, and we have some really interesting speakers to the clubs.
That's one of the things that I love.
Yes,
the speakers.
Isn't it amazing?
You just learn so much. And
we had your president talk to us.
President Allen. Oh, great.
Yes, and that was really, really fascinating. Yeah.
Good. What did he talk on?
We talked about his life and all the things he'd done.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Very interesting.
That would be very interesting.
Yes, you should. If you haven't heard what he has been involved in, you should.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Marilyn. That's really lovely. And Heather, so you're also another bigger club.
Rotary Club of South Wairarapa, still south, but the South Wairarapa, which is the area involving Greytown, Martinborough and Featherston, which of course goes all the way down to the coast as well. Right. So technically we're the largest territorial land agency in New Zealand.
Wow.
Probably because all the people are slightly further apart than all the others. And we meet on Wednesdays. We meet at 6 for dinner at 7:30 at the South Wairarapa Workingmen's Club, which is in Greytown. And we're also one of the larger clubs. We have at the moment 68 members, of whom 28 are women. And we do not sing except at Christmas when we're geared up ready to go next Wednesday to sing to the people at Wairarapa. We have 2 old folks' homes under our umbrella, as it were, and we give them quite a decent-sized gift each year.
Right.
And in this case, it's one of those orthopaedic chairs that they like to sit in. We gave them one last year, and they liked it so much. I think there's probably a bit of a competition of sitting in it, so we're going to give them another one just like it. So we normally end up drifting away at about 8:30 or so. Sometimes if the speaker is extremely interesting, question time can go on, or you find there's a hubbub of people have mobbed him after the meeting is officially closed.
Yes. Great speakers. I love, you call your person that organises the speakers a speaker seeker.
The speaker
Is that
seeker,
right?
yes. It's a bit like
that's a good idea.
someone who does firewood has a splinter group, and I think
That's
that's
right.
always
That's
a wonderful
us,
name.
yes.
Yes, I could never work out what that group was. I thought it was a group that wasn't quite involved in any way until I was doing one of the programs, and I suddenly read, I think it was one of the bulletins that come through from your club, and I thought, oh, is that what a splinter group is?
Somebody who spends a lot of time handling firewood, no
Yes.
doubt. Well, our major events each year, and not coming up now till February and March of 2019, good heavens, where's the time going, is the Martinborough Fair. Yes. And we also help out at things like Wings Over Wairarapa and the Tahiranikau Racecourse, which is a nice little fundraiser for us too. But the Martinborough Fair is our big fundraiser, and the other one we do, and we have a special committee for each of them as well as the committees you named, because the fair is a massive project, and so is the Martinborough Charity Fun Ride, which is held in the challenging countrysides around Martinborough. This year we had 290 riders from the lower half of the North Island, ranging in age from 11 to 87. And you could choose your course from 48 to 115 kilometres. There was an e-bike section, and there were tandems included again this year. And our current president, David Halford, has maintained his title. He has won the e-bike section every year so far, which is wonderful. And this year we expect to raise about 4,000 from that event alone, and that's going to be donated to the Wairarapa Whanau Trust, which are building a youth facility in Featherston. Over the years, and it's been run by a number of people, most particularly the Wellington Veterans Cycling Club, and Martinborough residents Jan and Jeff Lankow ran it until we took over in 2014. Over the years, it's raised about 150,000 for local charities. The fair, of course, raises rather a lot more. But what's wonderful about the fair is we have a lot of various charities like Plunkett and the Fire Brigade, which shouldn't be a charity but is, and many people like that, the Kuranui hockey team, who all work the fair in exchange for a reward. And then we have the money to spend on things like scholarships and exchange programs and things like that. And some of our braver members also go to Kuranui College, where they take the young learner drivers out in a special learner driver car. And I have smiled at them in passing and seen them with their teeth gritted as they smile back.
Yes, we've been doing that too. And just as there's one other thing you just reminded me about with the schools, because for a long time, about 20 years, I think, the Master and Intermediate members of our club have gone there, reader help with the children there, and there's a small group that go in every week,
right,
for 2 terms, and you know, they establish quite a rapport with the kids, which is lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great, very busy club as well.
Yes.
It is. Well, the other project, and this is one of those ones for people who like small fuzzy animals, we've just been asked for help and offered help too. The Aorangi Restoration Trust, which is set up to restore and maintain indigenous ecosystems across the Aorangi Forest, which is that big forest park, the big mountain that divides the valley. The wind goes round it at Martinborough. And that includes about 45 kilometres of coastline on Palliser Bay round to Te Kawakawa Rocks. And their focus is predator control and monitoring the control's impact on predator levels on non-indigenous biodiversity, and that's birds, lizards, invertebrates and vegetation. They've got about 36,000 hectares, and there's in their buffer area, and that's treated with 1080. But as well, they have an extremely good trapping program. They're looking this year, and our special help for this is the little penguin population along Palliser Bay and the south coast. They were once very, very common, but their population has been declining where they're not protected. And the major problem is dogs, but then there's also cats, ferrets and stoats. And there's going to be a lot of inspection, counting of penguins, and then special nesting boxes and penguin tracker dogs to see how the project's working. So they've asked us for $5,000, and we've given them $2,500 for the time being. But cute little penguins,
yes.
And we're going to be able to put some signage along the coast saying this is a Rotary project. Look out for little penguins. Yes.
Great. Oh, you are a busy club as well. Gosh, it's really interesting to hear from both of your clubs, and I'll certainly fill you in on our club next as well, but we might have just another music break. Now, Heather, you chose a local artist today, didn't you?
Oh, Barry Saunders,
Barry
yes.
Saunders,
my
yes.
favourite Wairarapa.
Yes.
Or one of my favourite Wairapas.
So, track number 3 is...
Yes, that's right, and I think it's something about... I've forgotten what it's about.
Going fishing?
Oh, exactly. What else will we be doing in summer? Yes.
All right, so we're going to enjoy a bit of Barry Saunders.
Sweet little girl, I've been thinking, and I bet you know just what I thought. 'Cause you and me, we was going fishing on a sea full of love, and it's hard to see us sinking. When we're light enough to float, and I'm done with all this thinking. I just can't wait for us to go, so I let it go. Songs, I write you letters that we both know I'm not very strong. The tide is down, I can see it coming in. I just can't wait show, and it's hard to see us sinking. When we're light enough to float, and I'm done with all this thinking.
is gone to the dogs, and we don't have long. But all I want to know before I go, and I'm done with all this thinking. 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 La la la. I'm done with all this thinking. I'm done with all this thinking. Done with all this thinking. La la la. Done with all this thinking. Done with all this thinking. Done with all this. Sweet little girl, I've been thinking, and I bet you know just what I thought.
Oh, a lovely piece of local music there, so I hope you enjoyed that. Now, we've been learning about what Masterton South and South Wairarapa Rotary clubs are doing, and so I thought I better take a turn. Sometimes when you're on this side of the desk, you forget that you can say something too. So I'm Rotary Masterton, or most Masterton Rotary, and we're a really small club compared to you guys. We're quite tiny, actually. There's only 18 or 19 of us. But that doesn't mean we don't give bang for our buck. So some of our projects, we've got the food bank. So we support the food bank with a monthly donation. Our focus probably is mostly around youth. So we do the science forum. We send someone to the science forum, to the leadership program, to the Raipen, and to Rider. We're involved with Rider. But we do have the splinter group, which is that's my phone. Oh, lovely noise.
Good, got a budgie.
No, there's no birds in there. So we also do what we call the splinter group, which is what we were talking about, which is our firewood group. So we have it's almost like a committee, I suppose, but they meet on a Wednesday, and in the busy seasons, Mondays and Fridays, to cut firewood. So we sell sell kindling to the BP garages with our Rotary label on. And last year we sold $21,000 worth of kindling, and we also sell firewood. So hence the name Splinter Group, I think, because when you first start working with them, you end up with lots of splinters.
No, that's really clever.
I think it is. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so that's our biggest income earner, I suppose, is the Splinter Group, and it's huge, and that enables us to be able to send the youth, etc. So, but we also have the Teddy Bears Picnic, which we've been running for 15 years, and that has on average 2,000 visitors to it, and it's once a year, and it's a free family event. So what the goal is that we wanted to provide something for the community that costs nothing for families to come to, and was good, genuine family fun. So once a year at Henley Lake we have magicians, and we have the brass band and face painting, and everybody brings their teddies, whether they're 6 foot tall or 6 millimetres tall, and has a lovely afternoon at Henley Lake, enjoying just family fare. It's free, but there is a sausage sizzle. And in 15 years, we've had 15 years, and in 15 years we've postponed it once for weather, and that was this year.
Yes.
So it was such a shame, but there's just no way we could have had it. So, yeah, keep an ear out for the Teddy Bears Picnic for next year. It's always in November. That's our biggest annual event. However, we have started what's called the Breakfast by the Lake. Armadale over in Australia is our sister Rotary Club, and it's also our sister city for Masterton. And about 8-9 years ago, I went over to Armidale on a Rotary exchange with our mayor at the time and some other Rotarians, and we spent a considerable amount of time there. We had a wonderful time, and they have this major event, which is a breakfast, well, they call it breakfast with the band by the lake. Mm-hmm. So they have a brass, not a brass band, they have a violins, etc. band. And so I thought, gosh, that's a good idea. We'll have to have one here. So it's taken 8 years for it to really get stimulated, but we're on our 3rd year. Unfortunately, whether we had to postpone it, but it's just beautiful. So we have proper crockery, we have linen tablecloths and flowers on the table, and we're all wearing waitresses' aprons, and we serve you bacon, eggs, and tomatoes and hash browns by the lake, and we have hula hooping for the kids to do, and it's just a lovely breakfast, and all of the money has been going to the guide dogs. We do sponsor guide dogs as well, but I'm probably a little bit of a leader in our club because being legally blind, I have my own guide dog who's asleep on the floor over there. I know the cameras can't see her, but she's there. So I do push that one a little bit. So the fundraiser is all of the money that's raised from the Breakfast by the Lake goes directly to the Blind Foundation for the guide dogs, which it's, having been a recipient, I can tell you they are the most amazing people and earn every penny that they get fundraised for. So that's our Breakfast by the Lake. What else do we do? I'm looking at my list. I was writing things down as you ladies were talking. So 2017-18, our biggest project was a courtyard at the rehab centre in Masterton Hospital, which was initiated by Neil Inkster. We've called it the Neil Inkster Courtyard. Unfortunately, Neil passed away before he could see it completed, but he designed it and was the leading power in that, and that is something for us that we're really proud of. And we also put up some fences and did a small courtyard for the dementia unit at the hospital as well. So we've been quite busy with those. The kids triathlon we get involved with every year, and help with that, and we also help with the over 70s Christmas. So Harry Tolley Fund is the other one we sponsor, 2 children to go to youth to go to St Matthew's annually. So very youth orientated club, I guess. When I'm reading that, I'm thinking, gosh, there's a lot of youth involvement there, but that's wonderful.
That's great. Wonderful.
Yeah. So although we're a little club, we do some, keep ourselves very busy.
And you're a breakfast club,
we
aren't
are
you?
a breakfast club. That's maybe why we're little.
I think it must be because you lost out on me.
Yeah. However, I love the breakfast one. I think it works really well for me. A night meeting just isn't for me. So I love it.
It probably works well for those who are really involved in business, that they can come to the club and then start the day.
What we do have to be is very conscious of that social time and making sure we have that, because when you have a night meeting, as you know, you can linger afterwards and yak and have some social connection, but most of the time at 8:30 we're all wanting to get to work, so that doesn't happen. We have a little bit of social time in the morning, but we make sure that we go out. So once there's about 3 or 4 months of the year that there's 5 Thursdays, so we make that a social event and go out for dinner and try and have some real social time as well, because that's part of the fellowship of Rotary, isn't it?
That's what we do in this 5 Wednesdays. The 5th one, we make sure it's not for a change in Greytown. We go out to one of the other towns for dinner. That's
a great idea.
So you have mostly have your meetings in Greytown?
Yes, usually 4 out of the 5 will be in Greytown, or sometimes all of them. There are occasional events when we all go to a movie or something like that, but not very many.
Yes. I guess I found with Rotary, because I really didn't know the depth of what it did at the time. It was a girlfriend of mine that was involved, and I just sort of said, tell me about this thing you go. I think I was around there having a coffee, and it was the Rotary Bulletin was on the table, and I was flipping through it, and she said, come for a breakfast, and I haven't left. But I think for me, because I'm quite a shy person, she says, sitting in front of a microphone, but and I'm not a public speaker, for me it was just gaining those skills and listening to people that have that ability and learning by being involved. So I found the mentor mentoring within that, just so beneficial, and networking with other people and other businesses, and getting ideas. And you can sit next to someone at breakfast and say, oh, how did you find da-di-da-di-da, and sort of run something past them, and know that you're going to get sort of friendship answers, I suppose, honest answers. So I found that probably the most beneficial. And then, as you said, Marilyn, the speakers, I just thoroughly enjoy the speakers, and I do get most of the people's bulletins because I'm our bulletin editor, and I read through the speakers and think, gosh, that would be really good. And so you'd have some interesting speakers as well, Heather?
We have very, very interesting speakers, yes. Covering all sorts of walks of life, and very, very rarely does anything go wrong. Once in a while the Hill Road is closed when a speaker's coming over from Wellington.
Yes.
And surprising, we can usually get someone from within the club to stand up and give us a potted history, or how I got to be where I am now, or something like that. It's surprising, because a lot of the Rotarians, you don't...
Yeah, it's interesting. We have This Is Me, and just this year, Graham Sawyer, our president this year, has decided we're having 2-minute speakers. So there's a roster, and you have 2 minutes to speak about anything you want.
It's like it's Toastmasters.
Yes, there's a 2 minutes. Yes. I did mine. I did on travelling overseas, being by yourself sort of and doing those things. But unfortunately, I think I went over the 2 minutes, and I said, I've got to finish my speech.
And 2 minutes is not a lot of time.
No,
really,
it's not a lot of time, no. But they're fun. And of course, we also have a Sergeant at Arms session. Do you have that?
Yes. So
it's sort of a money maker for
pick on people in a friendly manner.
Yes, I got fined.
Fine people.
I got fined this week because we've had some quite good floods in Featherston, as you may have known.
Yes.
And 2 little bulls turned up in my bottom paddock. I think they jumped the fence to get away from the water. It's a 7-wire fence, though, so they're pretty athletic.
Yes, or desperate.
Yeah, or desperate, yes, indeed.
Gosh, you got fined for that?
Well,
just
you get fined for whatever's handy.
Yes. I was some of our members. I sit there going, what are they going to fine us for? Yes, great fun.
It is. We have the shrapnel mug, which gets passed round first thing, and that's what gets rid of all the sort of 10-cent pieces and things that lurk at the bottom of your pockets or your handbag, and then the sergeant session. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I have done a couple of times, it's because you were mentioning travelling, is that I have been to clubs when I've been overseas travelling. Yes. So have you done anything like that?
No,
Marilyn?
I haven't. No.
I went to one in Perth and one in Wollongong. Yes.
I invited myself to one in Honiara.
Oh, yes.
And then my plane was so late that I never got there anyway. So I was very sad about that.
Yes. So I think that's something I do know of one of our members. Well, she's not actually a member. She's a friend of. So she's a Rotarian by just friendship, really, and connection. She's travelled the world from Rotary Club to Rotary Club. So,
yes, because there is a friendship force too, and some of our club went to Canada just fairly recently, but also. Did you have the visit from the Taiwanese group?
No, they came on the Friday, I think.
Oh, yes.
So we missed them.
So we had them, and some of them are going over to Taiwan in April, I think it is, next.
Yeah, so it's one of our
2019.
Rotary members is the chair of that committee, and she just sent out an email just the other day for the next one is Vancouver.
Oh,
And
okay.
So the exchange. So part of Rotary is that you can also be involved in friendship exchanges. They also have study groups, don't they? So
yes, that's right.
I think they have more of a mission, don't they? More involved. It's a bit like VSA, I suppose, isn't it?
Yes, I would think so. The other seeing we haven't got Carterton here, I'll just do a little plug for the running of the Christmas parade, because we put a float in from Harlequin because we couldn't do one in Masterton one, and we were most impressed at the club, the Carterton Club, and how they ran that. It was absolutely amazing. Yes, and
I hear it was wonderful.
It was a lovely parade. It really was.
So that's a Rotary.
Well, they were all there dressed up in their Rotary.
Right.
Yes, and it was Rotary
Brilliant.
that was putting it on. Yeah. or
Yeah.
being involved anyway.
So I don't know, unfortunately our Carterton representative hasn't shown today, but I'm not sure when they meet, but there is a Carterton Rotary Club and it's a very active, vibrant club. So if you are in Carterton and listening to this, don't feel that there isn't, because there is. And yeah, that's what they're involved in. I'm not sure other projects. Do you know any other projects that they... No, not off the top of my head either. But that's okay. They're
they would have been involved with the ambulance to the Cook Islands in the same way as we all were.
Yes,
Rarotonga
yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So, gosh, that's just fills an hour in an instant. We're just at the end, so I better. I did say I'd give you some details on how you can contact any of us, and so you can contact. You can ring either 0800 4 Rotary, so 0800 the number 4 and then the word Rotary, and that will go to a service that will put you through to the right people. You can go through rotary.org.nz or look for individual clubs. Now, you've got a Facebook page?
Rotary Club of South Wairarapa, and also the Rotary Martinborough Fair Facebook page, which is well worth looking at, even if you just want to be nosy about the fair.
Yes. Thank you for that.
And we've got a website, which is, has been developed.
It's a very good website, actually.
Yes,
I just went on it.
Yes, and also Facebook, and particularly involved with the car boot sale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, and we have a Facebook and a website as well, and we also have the Teddy Bears Picnic Facebook page. So we're quite contactable, and I think if you just Googled any of just Rotary and the town, you would get all of our details quite easily. Rotary's also on Twitter. If you're a tweeter or a twit, I don't know what you are.
More of them are twits, I think.
If you're, listening to Donald Trump, but you can read tweets on Rotary as well. So 0800 4 Rotary or rotary.org.nz or our individual Facebook pages or websites will get any of us.
And we're also a part of the District 9940, and there is a bulletin that comes out from that.
Yes.
Tells you a lot about what's happening.
So if you are interested in contacting any of us, and also Rotarians are lovely people, and so you can come and contact us, just give us a tap on the shoulder. We'd like that. So it's been lovely talking to you both. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here, I should say. And so Heather and Marilyn are going to be running the shows, one in March and one in February, I think. So we're having turns. So it'll be myself and Heather and Marilyn and hopefully Mike or someone from Carterton, and we're going to take turns once a month to run the show. So make sure you listen to Rotary Matters, and you can watch and listen as well, because we now have both, and I have the app on my phone and watched myself last time, and I probably not the best of ideas, but anyway, so it's been lovely to have you. Thank you very much, and we shall close the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me remember how to do that.